Welcome to Why Such a Fuss, an exciting new channel dedicated to help individuals and businesses to learn more about data protection in a way that is easy and engaging. I'm Christina from CVG Solutions, and I am a fully qualified data protection professional. I am passionate about educating, empowering, and enabling businesses to thrive. Remember to like and subscribe to this channel and help us to spread the word. Data protection is there for a reason. It protects you, your family, loved ones, customers, employees from coming to harm through the use of personal data. So make sure you click subscribe. Now, get ready to embark on a journey of growth and knowledge as we dive into the world of data protection. I would like to welcome Ralf O'Brien once again. Hello and welcome back to my channel.
Pleasure's all mine.
So for the benefit of the audience, Ralf is a global privacy, data protection and security advisor. And today we're going to discuss, is GDPR e-learning training effective? What are your thoughts, Ralf, on this?
We could just say no and finish the podcast there, right? It's just the shortest podcast ever.
Yeah, I think just call it no.
No. I mean, for a start, if you're teaching people about GDPR, you're teaching them about the wrong thing. Most people don't need to know about the GDPR at all. Most people in your organization, if you are talking about like general learning, need to know how to manage the information at their fingertips, not the GDPR. The GDPR is an abstract law that bears no relation to what they do in a day-to-day basis. They need to know about your organization's data handling practices, rules. It gives you principles, and those principles say, I'll just choose the retention one, for example, keep data no longer than necessary. Yeah. Well, that doesn't really tell the individual anything. It doesn't give them instruction. You as an organization will have had to have gone through and define how long that means and what it means for them and what that means for their data processing that they do in whatever X, Y, or Z business unit they happen to be in. Data breaches, they need to know who to report that to. The GDPR doesn't say that. It doesn't talk about internal processes. So I think a lot of the problem is, we have to get away from teaching people about generically what the law says. In an e-learning package, people are forced to do and try and game their way through in 2 or 3 minutes, and instead start telling people what they need to know for their jobs. And I think that's a good place to start. I mean, Christina, I think we were talking the other day and we mentioned this, and you said you had some pretty strong views yourself on some of the problems you've seen with your clients trying to implement them, yeah?
Yes. So far, in my experience, the material in terms of e-learning training that I've come across, it's been of poor quality. It's difficult for the user to actually relate to the material because, again, it's too high level, is not relevant to their day-to-day. And so then because they can't translate it into how they can apply to their environment, basically it goes into one ear, out of the other. And if you were to ask them anything about the training after an hour, they would have forgotten what it was about. So that to me means that it's not effective. I do understand that small businesses in particular, they obviously have a small budget. And so they are looking for those solutions. Is also an easy way for a small organization in terms of cost to then keep track of who's done it and who hasn't, as a way of demonstrating compliance, not compliance to the GDPR regulation, but compliance to other bodies that they are
performing a tick box performative.
Yes, so it turns into it turns into a tick box exercise. So for example, some of my clients, they're subject to CQC reviews, and so some of that they have to demonstrate that all of their employees have done certain training, and the way to demonstrate that is through via an LMS system, for example, or that is the easiest way. But in terms of the actual learning, is not the right way, if that makes sense.
Exactly, yeah. And it's that performative compliance culture whereby all I need to see is a tick in the box and that X
Yes,
percent of people have done it,
yes,
as
yeah,
opposed to have the people got the outcome they need out of it. And that's a very big difference, you know. It's fascinating to me actually. So I'm a trainer, and I actually run training courses for a lot of different organizations. So DPAS, British Standards, Leadership Through Data, InfoSec Institute, ICE Malta. And what I find fascinating about quite a lot of those organizations is they have their own e-learning courses. They say, hey, you want to be an instructor? Firebrand is another one. You want to be an instructor for us? You've got to do those e-learning courses. So I actually find myself as a data protection professional doing like 10 or 11 of these data protection e-learning courses in a year. And I find them extremely frustrating, not just because I see the errors and the holes, but
yeah,
also because I see the performative nature of them. They don't care what outcome I've gotten from them. They just care that I've done it and I've got the tick in the
yes,
box. And I
yes.
can find, you'd be surprised. I'll have another screen up and I'll be watching something else. I'll just see if I can click next in the bottom right hand corner and how fast I can go through it.
But also,
Um,
what I found, Ralph, and I don't know whether you come across this or not, but when you go through this e-learning and then you get to the quiz and they give you the question with a multiple choice, and the multiple choice, actually, they're all wrong. There isn't the right answer there. And so you're having to take the wrong answer so that you can move on. And that is, again, it's misleading in any way possible. So, but again, we need to put ourselves in the shoes of a small business that can't necessarily afford a professional trainer to come in, even if it's once a year, and spend several thousands of pounds for their team to be trained or refreshed, refresher training. So there has to be a different way of doing it.
but I don't necessarily see that for a smaller business and e-learning, which is a mass market tool,
Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes.
it's going to be the best way for a small business either. I mean, at the end of the day, individuals need to know what they need to know to do their jobs. Now, I'd rather that the senior management spent 10 minutes putting together a video themselves that says, hey, just we've got some waste paper bins. If you do see something that looks dodgy, tell this person, right? Real practical stuff. I'd rather
Yes.
the senior management get a 10, 15 minutes on that than do them performative e-learning from a vendor that's going to charge them money. The one's going to be much more impactful to the staff.
Yes.
It's going to be much more
And
useful.
I agree, Ralph. And there is this concept that training needs to be something that it's in a classroom or something that you do, on the screen. But actually, training can be anything. It could be like, I don't know, a flyer left on people's desks to remind them, for example, to lock the screen whenever they move away from their desk. It could be, you could do it through like a quiz competition. There's so many things that can be done under the banner of training that it's not necessarily in a room for, locked in a room for a couple of hours or in front of a screen for an hour or 30 minutes or whatever, how long the e-learning is.
Or on the job, on the job
Yes,
training. I mean, I worked in a lot of call center environments, and they're actually really good at getting people to follow a process, follow a script,
yes,
sort of handing off and giving people real world experience in what to do in certain situations. And you'd find a lot of the data protection elements there are worked into the script rather than you're sort of trained in a more traditional way.
yes,
But there are going to be people who will need to know more, and I think that's fair to say. Anyone who's dealing with, perhaps IT systems or large amounts of personal data or frontline customer services or anyone who is entering into a data protection role. I mean, I've often said, a 2-day data protection training course does not make you a a data protection expert, right?
yes,
I still don't call myself an expert, and I've been doing this for a century now. So, it's got to be the right level of information for the right people, and again, you're right. A lot of small organizations won't have time to do a competency analysis where they look at what different roles and what different roles need. But there are different professions and different parts of the organization who will need to know different stuff, right? And I think not only do we need to build that in from a data protection angle, but perhaps, HR need to build it in. I'm always surprised that marketing people don't learn more about data protection when they're talking about how to deliver marketing. They're told how to optimize search rankings and stuff like that, but not whether it's legal to send out an email.
Yes.
So I do think data protection sometimes needs to, instead of being its own topic, almost inserted into the other data using training topics that you might find within an organization. Make it
Yes.
more relevant to those business areas, perhaps.
Totally agree, Ralf.
So in
Yes.
short, going back to your earlier answer, is e-learning sufficient? I mean, it's a tool. I don't think it's going to be, as part of a wider, bigger range of an approach, it can be successful, but on its own, no. How's that?
Yes. No, I agree. I think it needs to be part of a broader training strategy rather than on its own. On its own is not enough. So it does have its use and its purpose, but it needs to be part of a bigger, a proper training strategy. Ralf, thank you ever so much once again for taking your time to join us on the channel. Would you like to share how the audience can get in touch with you should they wish to do so?
Well, it's a question whether I wish them to do so. Really, no. I'm joking, of course. No, I'm always happy to have a conversation. I can be found on Twitter at IG R O'Brien. That was an EN. I'm R O'Brien at rainbowconsulting.com, but spell REINBO. It's anagram of O'Brien. Very embarrassing now. Or LinkedIn at R space T space O'Brien with an E. They're my socials. Please come along and find me, and it's a pleasure to have chatted with you and your listeners today.
Fantastic. And if you have liked this episode, please give us a thumbs up and remember to subscribe or follow. If you would like to get in touch with me, I can be found on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Just search for CVG Solutions, or alternatively email me at info@cvgsolutions.co.uk.